Hey, Vegan Freaks, welcome to Vegan Freak Radio number 59 on February 13th.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bob.
And Jenna.
And we're back again. Going to be a short show this week.
Turbo show.
Kind of like the walk we took today.
Yeah.
I was out walking today. We were out walking the dogs just before the show. Because if we don't walk the dogs before the show...
No show.
No show. All hell breaks loose, basically.
Exactly.
So we were out walking the dogs. And I kept seeing these little white things. Like I would blink and I would see these little white things. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So... we get home and I look in the mirror, we have a little mirror right when we walk in, and I look in the mirror and there are actually little ice droplets on my eyelashes. That's what those little white things were. So you better love us because it was like 5 degrees out when we took the dogs. 5 degrees, not centigrade for everybody else in the world. No, Fahrenheit. F.
Yeah. It was above zero, so we were like, well, we got to go out. We just got to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyway, here we are. We're going to have a quick show today because we're busy.
Yeah.
But part of our New Year's resolution was to bring you a show every week, and we're going to try.
That's what we're doing.
We're going to try hard.
Even if it's quick, we're going to do it.
Yep. So that was it. Hey, tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is.
I didn't get you shit.
I didn't get you shit.
Good. It's a commercial piece of crap holiday anyway.
Yeah, I think a long time ago we just had this mutual agreement that we wouldn't get anything for each other on Valentine's Day and just celebrate other days.
I mean, is it ironic that Valentine's Day is called VD?
No.
No. Anyway, yeah, I didn't get you anything. I know a lot of you out there are probably thinking that we're cynical and all that, but come on. I mean, if you love someone, shouldn't you show them all the time?
You should.
Shouldn't it be a daily exercise?
Yeah, just because you shouldn't have to show me you love me with a card.
Yeah, and a dozen
flowers that the cat's just going to eat.
And a dozen tired cliche. I mean, roses? Shit, I probably just offended people out there.
Sure.
No,
I think it's very romantic if people want to do that kind of thing.
I agree.
But it's not like we can go out to eat at a good restaurant around here and have a nice romantic dinner because that's impossible. So
yeah, it's totally impossible. Well, anyway, I hope whomever out there is, you're having a Valentine's Day. I hope you have a very good one. I hope that you spend time with your loved one and get a lot of good loving. Put on some Barry White.
Now, if you're having a snow day tomorrow.
Oh, true. Well,
you might be.
But that's only in the northeast of the United States, which constitutes a tiny percentage of people who listen to Vegan Freak Radio.
But actually, this is a big storm that's hitting a lot of the U.S.
True. But but even the U.S. constitutes a tiny proportion of the Vegan Freak listenership. We have listeners, I think, in all major continents.
I think so.
I'm trying to think of any we don't have. I don't think we have any on,
Antarctica.
Yeah, right. We don't have any,
We're kind of challenging to be a vegan down there, but...
Well, whatever. All right, so let's move on.
Okay.
We have a couple thanks to give people.
Yes, people have been sending us shit. Not shit like bad shit, but, shit isn't like stuff in general.
Shit.
Oh, cool shit.
Cool shit. Not shit.
No,
but cool shit.
I didn't mean it like that.
Go ahead.
Well, we need to thank Kat for sending us an awesome cookbook and some sweet goodies.
Absolutely. And Kat is the vocalist on our theme song. Mm-hmm. So many of you know Kat, or at least you know her voice.
Yes.
So, we also want to thank Peter from Australia. He sent us 2 really cool T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. And Bob is going to get them now.
So I can describe them.
Okay.
Because I can't describe them without looking at them.
Right.
One of them it just says the animal rights terrorists on it. And it kind of... How would you describe that?
It looks like a rescue.
Yeah, it's basically a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is pretty cool. And the other one, it's pretty good. It's got 2 little blocks on it. Inside one block, you have the letter V, uppercase and lowercase. And the next block has a gun in it. So these are great shirts. He didn't tell us how to tell you to go get them. So I don't know. Maybe he was just printing them for friends and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, and also we need to thank Leanne for a zine. She sent us a zine about what she did over her break.
Yeah, it's called 18 Long Days.
18 Long Days, and she has a blog, 18longdays.blogspot.com. I never had a chance to go there and look.
No, I didn't, but I read the zine.
Yeah, I did too.
It's cool. It's got a little vegan guide to Chicago in the back, and
yeah, and it mentions us. Mm-hmm. And I like that.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
No, but the zine itself actually is it's cool because she just gives you a little. It's like what I like about zines is that they always give you, to me, the best zines give you little glimpses into the lives of people, right? The kind of travel zines or biographies or autobiographies, and this gives you just kind of a little glimpse into her life, and I like that. Mm-hmm. Microcosm also sent us some stuff for review. Do you all know about Microcosm? You should if you don't. Speaking of zines and comics and all that stuff, we will review some of that stuff on the show.
Yes.
That was the idea for them.
Okay, we will do that.
So we shall do that, but we haven't had a chance to really dig into those yet. So Microcosm's a good business to support, though. I'm totally behind supporting the kind of small scale.
Definitely.
Cool people.
They've got a lot of cool stuff on their site.
They do indeed.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough to be in Portland, you can go visit.
Indeed. Well, they also have an online shop.
Yeah, that's what I said. Online first. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Previous 2 weeks, as you probably have heard, man, long interview, two big segments with Gary Francione. We had a lot of feedback on those that we will deal with at some point, but not really today. Ew, what is this all over your screen?
I don't know. I think it's cat snarf.
No, yeah, cat snarf.
No, the cat sits over there and
Jenna snarf.
Sneezes and...
It's screen spray. Oh, I have to switch your keyboard layout. See, just in case anybody wants to know, I type with a different keyboard layout than the rest of the world because I'm a nerd. I have this obsession with efficiency, which is inefficient. I have an inefficient obsession with efficiency. No, I use a Dvorak keyboard layout, and the home row is designed so that, like something like, I don't know, the most common keys are right on the home row rather than scattered throughout the keyboard like with QWERTY. Anyway.
And so you can type faster usually.
Well, you can type about the same, but there's a lot less. Most of your typing's in the home row, so there's a lot less kind of nastiness with
awkward
the wrists.
Movement.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're interested in Dvorak, we can point you in the right direction of some resources. Just be in touch with me. I'm always happy to convert people to veganism and to Dvorak typing. It's better for you. It is better for you.
That's true.
But anyway, we had some interesting comments on the Gary Francione interview, especially part 2. There is, if you go to podcast.veganfreak.com and look at the Gary Francione Returns to VFR part 2, there is like a smackdown debate. It's like a steel cage match between Gary Francione and like whoever Friends of Animals could find to argue with him. I mean, that's the way it looks to me. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. Frankly, at this point, it has kind of the air of a pissing contest to it, but you should go take a peek at it. Podcast.veganfreak.com. Very long debates. I actually, saying it's a pissing contest, I think it minimizes some of the arguments that are going on. I don't mean to do that. That's a little unfair. But there is this back and forth going on that's worth checking out. I haven't even read the latest. There's 34 comments here.
Oh, my God. They're all quite long.
Yeah. And as Dino said on the forums, he put up this picture of a teal deer when I recommended that people go read this. So it's a deer and it looks teal. So I'm like, what the fuck is a teal deer? So he then explains that teal deer is short for TL, DR. Too long, didn't read. Teal deer. So I'm not encouraging you to not read things because they're too long. I'm an academic. I think people should always read long and boring things. But however, there's a very interesting argument debate going on there and some interesting feedback to the show. There's also been some feedback on the forums. But in any case, that's worth checking out. I also know that Eric Marcus did a little response from some of the things that Francione talked about on the show. I think on the first show, I can't remember. I listened to it a while ago. And also, I think there's some things to talk about there, but I'm going to leave it for now because Francione and Eric Marcus are going to have a debate. So I'll let you know more about that as I know it. Anyway, lots of stuff going on there.
Indeed. So again, we'd like to thank Gary and thank all our listeners for sending in awesome questions and for all your feedback and responses. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, I think the questions were great, actually. They brought out a lot of things, and I think that they were really solid. They kept us going for 4 hours, 3.5 hours. So they were excellent questions. We much appreciate it. And I know a lot of you don't agree with him. I know a lot of you do. I mean, we've gotten a lot of emails where people just wrote in and said, I've never thought about it like that. I'm a vegetarian. I have been for a long time, and I'm going vegan, and that's cool by me. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to hear that. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay. Did you want to talk about Whole Foods?
I always say I'm not going to. I get so mad.
I know.
Okay, because I try not to be an angry vegan, as I was accused of in an article in Slate. I actually want to leave Whole Foods alone. I want them to just go, motherfucker, telephone ring. It's Gary Francione. It actually is. Sorry, Gary, I got to do the show. Speak of the devil.
Professional, yes.
Oh, anyway, I usually turn the ringer off before we start the show, but we're a little disorganized. I decided I wasn't gonna. It's done now.
Okay.
This is what you get, man. We're podcasters. We're not we don't have a studio.
No.
Anyway, I always say I'm not going to talk about Whole Foods because I think, the listeners are probably tired of it. Some of them like Whole Foods. And, if you like Whole Foods, I think you're wrong. But no, I don't respect you. I just think, I just think it's old, right? It's like beating. No, I'm not going to go there.
No.
It's like same wine, different bottles.
Okay, there you go.
Same shit, different day.
Yeah.
So I try not to do the same shit, different day. But Whole Foods consistently and always, and I'm flailing my arms now, they always do something that makes me holy fuck, you are so stupid. How could I not want to talk about how stupid you are on my show when you keep doing shit that is so stupid?
Yeah. And I'm sure most of you are probably aware by now as to what we were referring to.
Well, it was actually one of the inventions of the year we talked about way back when.
Indeed. And it has something to do with stunning lobsters.
Yes, indeed.
Because, back a few, was it weeks, months? I don't know. Anyway, Whole Foods decided that they were going to stop selling lobsters in all of their stores because they couldn't do it nicely enough.
But now they have lobster condos.
Yes.
That's what they call them, condos.
And this is in their Portland, Maine stores. This is a new store that they're opening up.
I think they should call them lobster projects. I mean, that would be... I don't know. I mean, if you look at well, anyway.
Right. So now, of course, they're going back on what they said. They're doing it in Portland, Maine. They're selling lobsters because they have this special system set up of these lobster condos where they each have their own little space.
Yeah.
So they don't claw each other. And it's mostly so they don't mark each other up and make each other look ugly. Well,
actually, I mean, if you dig underneath it, it's actually something that does increase the profitability of selling lobster and bringing them to market.
Yeah, because that way apparently a lot of lobsters injure each other and when they're crawling on top of each other in a tank.
Well, I mean,
okay.
Yeah. The thing is, though, this is undoubtedly better than the system in which lobsters are crawling on top of each other and mutilating each other.
Of course.
But.
Go
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No.
No.
Mm-mm. I'm tired of talking about Whole Foods. I mean, I'm giving them all this free publicity on the show. I'm tired.
But anyway, of course, it is better. Yeah, they are treated better. But however, they are still seen as food.
Absolutely.
That is the problem.
Well, and also to get back to it, Whole Foods builds their entire reputation around being this compassionate retailer. It's fucking ridiculous. It's like compassionate retailer. You are selling the bodies of animals for money. What is that?
Not compassion.
That is not compassion. And people think that they're great, and I don't get it.
I don't either. I mean, I show compassion towards fellow humans. I don't go out and hit them over the head and slit their throats and sell them in a store.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Whatever.
Let's stop because I know. I just know we're losing listeners. I just know we are.
I think a lot of people appreciate it, though. There are a lot of Whole Foods haters out there.
Don't be hating on. No, I think that there probably are. I don't know. I just don't want to keep hitting Whole Foods over the head.
Well, now, of course, they also provide. Well, you gotta tell the whole story. I mean, they're also now providing little pamphlets that explain to you how to kill them nicely. Mm-hmm. And for anybody who doesn't want to boil them alive, they'll stun them with that crust-to-stun thing we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yes, electric current. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's very compassionate.
Yeah, and of course, PETA is on board of all this too. They think this is just great.
Well, they did say, the one article I read had mentioned, PETA said, we wish no one would sell lobsters, but if they're going to do it, this is the way. Something like that. That's not an exact quote.
Right.
So don't come beating down my door, Ingrid Newkirk. She wouldn't even listen to us. She's probably somewhere just, who knows, living on her 30 grand a year in the big PETA funded house. What?
Nothing.
Well, that's what she makes, right? 35 or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
She doesn't make much, but she doesn't pay for anything either. She's like a college president. Well, except they make a lot.
They do.
Usually. Anyway, let's move on away from Whole Foods.
Okay.
Let me just put a little call out there. If you have a Whole Foods rant, or if you want to talk about Whole Foods, call us and leave a voicemail. Because is this too much? Like, I want to hear from you if you don't like Whole Foods. If you like them, I don't want to hear from you. If you don't like them, well, no. I mean, what is the defense of Whole Foods? I mean, how are they defensible in any way, shape, or form? What is the defense that would come, for Whole Foods?
They bring vegan food to the suburbs.
But here, remember the hypothetical that they do. They bring vegan food to people who can afford it.
Exactly.
I'm not even gonna go there. I don't even want to.
They were even calling it whole paycheck on NPR the other day.
Today.
Is that today?
That was this morning. You were half asleep. You're like, hit snooze again. That's what you kept saying to me. I'm on sabbatical. I don't have to get the fuck out of bed ever during these days. And the alarm's next to me, and you're nudging me. Hit snooze again. Hit snooze again.
Well, not my fault. The alarm's next to you.
Well,
not me.
I woke. Did you notice after the Whole Foods thing came on? I woke up.
Yes.
Because I was like, fuck, rage is a wonderful tonic.
Yeah.
It is. We are rambling.
We are.
Let's go. Move. Done.
Okay.
No more.
Anyway,
Fuck them.
Today, our show is basically, I have on our little outline here, it's entitled, Some Animals Are More Equal Than Others. Because all the things that we're going to discuss today, various articles that we found, talk about basically why some people treat some animals better than others and why we create this weird hierarchy.
Indeed.
So, you want to talk
Am I going first?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, well, this is an article. We get Time and Newsweek because Newsweek doesn't make me angry enough. No. I think originally the idea was I was going to cancel Newsweek and try Time.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I more often than not read like alternative lefty media stuff. And I love that stuff, but I don't feel like I'm getting what the average person's getting. Like the average person in America is not out there reading, Z Magazine, right? Mm-hmm. The average person in America is reading Time in the doctor's office or at their house. So I like to read Time and Newsweek to see kind of where the currents are flowing. Mm-hmm. Like what's the particular thing, what's the particular meme these days around different issues. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we have Time. And at the end of Time, there's this one piece called Your Time. Well, there's a section called Your Time, and it's technology, health, money, fitness, food trends. So this one is called A Main Course. MANE. I'm looking for the drum beat. Where is it? Hey. Ask you what the most important thing about comedy is. It would be timing, though I fuck it up all the time. Anyway, A Main Course, and this is by Joel Stein. And Joel says, I was moved by the volume of tributes to Barbaro upon his passing. Front page articles, thousands of cards from fans, a college scholarship in his name. Then I found out Barbaro was a horse. Here's what they do with dead horses in the rest of the world. They eat them. I'm going to read the whole article. It's not that long.
Okay.
See, it's like...
Okay, yeah, it's short.
Okay. But in our country, the thought of eating horse is so taboo that the American Horse Slaughter Prevention Act was just reintroduced in Congress, although there are even fewer horses eaten than flags burned. Despite our reputation, it turns out we are actually a nation that thinks like a 14-year-old girl. I mean, that's offensive on so many levels, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's offensive first because it implies that caring about animals is feminine.
Uh-huh.
And it's offensive because I know we have 14-year-old listeners. Maybe we shouldn't, but we do, who write to us and clearly have a better understanding and analysis of the world than this asshole.
Yep.
So I think it's the meaning. I think it's definitely sexist. Mm-hmm. And it's just really problematic. So I'll keep going.
Okay.
This article annoys me, but there's one thing at the end that I think is good. So
okay.
a lot of annoyance and one good thing at the end. But the guy's still a dick. The only thing that made me wary about eating horse is that Brigitte Bardot, and here's another sexist thing, perhaps the hottest woman ever, has spent her post-acting career campaigning for a ban on the meat. That seemed convincing until I found out that Bardot also backs Jean-Marie Le Pen, the far-right French politician, and has bashed Muslims, gays, and the presence of women in government. Plus, she hasn't aged all that well.
Oh my God.
What a dick.
No shit.
Yep. I decided not to let a bunch of horse freaks, regardless of how hot they once were, prevent me from eating meat enjoyed in Japan, Belgium, France, Italy, Sweden, the Netherlands, Germany, and Austria. And I would also add Spain. Because I remember walking down the street when we first were in Spain, and I saw a menu out on the side. They have these little menus out on the sidewalk, right? On a board. And it said, caballo. And I looked at Jenna. I said, does that say caballo? And she said, yeah, this is caballo. And I said, is caballo caballo? Is that a horse? And she looked, I don't know. It apparently was. Anyway, I quickly found out, however, that it's just about impossible to get a good piece of horse in the U.S. There had been 3 horse meat processing plants here that shipped meat overseas for consumption by humans and kept some behind for consumption by animals. But the 2 plants in Texas were ordered shut last month when a court of appeals agreed to enforce a 1949 state law banning the sale of horse meat to be eaten by people. The one in Illinois was unwilling to ship some to me in California because my state's laws make selling horse meat for dinner illegal, even though I promised not to reveal where I got it. This Scooter Libby trial is indeed having chilling effects on journalism. So I got a friend in Vancouver to drive to the Oyama Sausage Company, a high-end meat store at the Amazing Market on Granville Island. Sadly, she wasn't able to pick up any horse steaks, or better yet, Italian horse salami or German horse sausage. Not only are they supposed to be great, but it would have allowed me to say horse salami and horse sausage throughout this article. But she did pick up half a pound of salted cured meat. On the FedEx form, she called the shipment a leather art project, which seemed about right. Still, Homeland Security must have been wary of our ploy since the package arrived with a big green sticker reading, examined by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, but was otherwise untouched. American shores, you should know, are not safe from rogue cold cuts. When I opened my package, I couldn't believe how deeply red the meat was. The Japanese call it sakura, I guess. I mean, I don't speak Japanese, which means cherry blossom, because of the color. I kept waiting to slice it up to serve with goat cheese and crackers and an earthy bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape, but my wife, Cassandra, kept saying she wasn't hungry yet. Cassandra, I was learning, takes her cliches pretty seriously. When she was finally hungry enough to eat a horse, I cut us some thin slices. It turned out to be pretty awesome. A sweet, rich, super lean, oddly soft meat, closer to beef than venison. I put some slices over a salad of arugula with olive oil and a splash of lemon juice and some caramelized onions. It was like a livelier, lighter braciola. It's not that I don't think killing horses is cruel. It's just that I think killing chickens, pigs, sheep, and cows is equally bad. Morality based on aesthetics is pretty shallow. In fact, the only weird part about eating horse was that, unlike with bacon or ribeye, we kept picturing the animal, which was kind of gross. Nonetheless, until I decide to stop my less than noble practice of eating other animals, I've got little choice but to order up some more horse.
That's interesting.
So that's the thing, right? The article is, I was reading this the other morning while I was eating breakfast, and I was like spitting oatmeal on the page. I was so angry. And then I got to the end and I was like,
He makes a good point.
He makes a good point, but he still eats it, though.
I know.
That's the thing that's frustrating.
It's like, and he can picture the animal, and he knows it's wrong, and yet he does it anyway.
Well, there you go. So, horse. But here's the thing. I agree with him at the end, right? It's like,
of course.
Why privilege the consumption of horse? Like, why are we so offended by eating horses when we're not offended by eating cows?
Exactly.
And chickens and all of that. And so that point makes a lot of sense. But the guy throughout the article clearly is one of these people who, like Anthony Bourdain or whatever his name is, is living his adventurous life through his stomach because he's, too afraid to go bungee jump off a bridge or something.
Exactly.
So.
Yes. Oh, Frippy sent us an email with a link to the New York Times article. Apparently now a new delicacy are the eggs that you find in a killed chicken that haven't been laid yet.
Oh God.
So
that's morbid. That's like serial killer morbid.
I know. So they find these eggs when they kill the chicken and they cut it open and they find these eggs that are still in there, and that's like the new delicacy. Like this whole article was about adding them to soups and to pasta, and it was so disgusting. And he had a picture of them. It was so gross.
I just can't help but think of Silence of the Lambs. Where the guy is at the top of the pit saying it will put lotion on itself. It's like it just feels so serial killerish to me. Yeah. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer.
I know
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not up on the serial killers of the 20th century.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just disgusting.
It is.
But anyway.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure, next week.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, New York Times articles. Actually, this one, continuing on kind of the same theme of how animals are not equal, and we don't treat them equally because they have different status in our society based on their use, which is, of course, problematic.
Yeah, that's true.
Or what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it's interesting because I had found the next article I'm going to talk about, I had found on the New York Times the same day this article appeared, and this one was sent to us by Bob Jekyll, and he says, quote, "More examples of food-animal commodification and how some animals are worth more than others." Mm-hmm. So it starts off with, it's a new problem for farmers, few veterinarians. Rainbow had the bad luck to try to have a baby on Thursday. Thursday was her doctor's day off, and there was no one else for miles who could handle a complicated breech birth, not when the mother was a Holstein cow. Had the vet been there, we could have done a C-section and she could have lived through it fine, said Becky Benson, the owner, with her husband Eddie of Rainbow and 150 other dairy cows. Instead, I worked on her till I was just exhausted, Mr. Benson said, but I ended up having to take the cow to a butcher shop where she got processed for hamburger. These days, the Benson's veterinarian is pretty much the only cow doctor in a 1,300 square mile swath of Maine, and the only one of about 30 large animal veterinarians left in the entire state. And across the country, veterinarians who care for the animals that provide the United States with food are increasingly short supply. For one, there's generally more money to be made caring for cats and dogs. And with fewer students from farm backgrounds, fewer gravitate to rural jobs, especially if a spouse needs work too. Large animal care can be tough, even dangerous. Think of maneuvering in frigid weather around 1,000-pound cows and manure-filled pens. And more veterinarians are women, generally less inclined towards large animals. And then they go on to say, we look at it as a crisis, said Dr. Roger Marr, the association's president, who cited serious consequences not only for the well-being of farmers and animals, but also potentially for food safety and the impact of non-native diseases like bird flu. Then don't eat them. Would be my solution to the problem.
Not a bad idea.
But basically, it all comes down to that people who care for cats and dogs make way more money.
Yeah.
And so nobody wants to care for these animals that people eat. Mm-hmm. So they get treated like shit. And if there's no care available, they kill them. Well,
the other thing, though, is that even if there is care available, it'll only go to a certain point.
Right. They don't, if it's not profitable, they won't do it.
Right. And that's the thing. Isn't there another quote in an article?
Yep, exactly. For Fifi, the family dog, you'll spend $1,500 or $2,000, Mr. Arms said. That old cow, at some point, economics kick in, and you say if she's going to cost $1,500, I can buy 2 cows for that, so I should have shot her.
And that's exactly it. When an animal has a price attached to it like that, mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, it's a break-even question for the producer. And that's horrible.
It is, because they're a commodity. They're not an animal. They're not a sentient being. It's a commodity.
That's right.
And it's just sick.
And it's a commodity that's meant to produce a particular, it's meant to produce profit, right? Mm-hmm. So as a commodity, right, it's tradable. It's chattel property, right? You can buy it and sell it. Mm-hmm. But also it's not just a commodity in the sense of something that you own, but it's a commodity that is meant to leverage more capital to produce more money, right? To produce more capital. And so if that particular bit of capital producing property ends up costing too much money, that particular bit of capital producing property has to be done away with. Mm-hmm. Has to be liquidated.
Exactly.
And that's the fucked up dynamics of capitalism that drive so much of the industry and that deal with our hierarchical relationship with animals, mm-hmm. which are really screwed up.
Yep.
And I'm writing about this now, so I feel a little bit of intensity about it.
Yes.
Indeed.
And it goes on to say that this is getting worse because small dairy farms are closing because of more factory farms, and factory farms are even less inclined to get help for their animals.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and basically it says you either eat your mistakes or you bury with them.
Or you what? Bury them?
Bury them when it comes to these kinds of things. It's ridiculous.
I mean, the interesting thing, too, you talked about the family companion animals in there. Mm-hmm. I was reading this book a while ago. It's called, the book is called Animal. Mm-hmm. And the author is Erica Fudge. And she talks about how, for most of us, companion animals that we have in our homes, especially dogs and cats, are in this kind of middle territory between animals and humans. Mm-hmm. They're not quite animals in the sense of like a cow or a chicken or a wild animal, but they're not quite human. They occupy this weird middle ground, and that middle ground is kind of it's a problematic area epistemologically, mm-hmm. right? For people who don't think about animals all all animals as kind of being worthy of consideration. Because epistemologically, right, if you have this kind of middle area where you've got a dog and a cat, and they're going to be the ones that sleep in your bed, and then you get up in the morning and eat a fucking sausage. What does that say about our relationship with animals? It says it's really fucked up.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting point that the author of that book raises. It says, cats and dogs occupy this middle ground. So
Exactly. And that goes with the next article I was going to talk about. It appeared in the same issue of the New York Times, at least online. And the article's called "Nerves as Frayed as the Sofa, Call Your Own Dog Whisperer." And the whole article is about now basically the dog whisperers on the National Geographic Channel and everything. That is now in cities, you can go, find your own dog whisperer, and they're really high in demand, and people are willing to pay hundreds of dollars.
But on the one hand, that's a good thing.
I know.
Okay.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, on one hand, it's great because that means that people are more likely to keep their dogs if they can solve the problems, and learn how to deal with the dogs. And it's all about, a lot of it's about training the human, not about training the dog, really.
That's true, too.
Some of it's about training the dog, but it's also teaching humans how to deal with their companion animals. And I think that's a great thing because that way people were more likely to keep their animals, as companions and not return them to shelters and that kind of thing, or they're more willing to have an animal. So that's good. But it just really shocking in that people are willing to pay, hundreds of dollars for this kind of service, whereas you got this cow has a breech birth and they kill her.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's just such a stark contrast. So there's a couple things in this article I wanted to mention. The house call boom that talk about the clients that they're willing to pay for this kind of thing is part of a general expansion of the pet services sector of the $38 billion pet industry.
$38 billion?
$30 pet industry. Spending in that category swelled to $2.7 billion in 2006 for services like training, grooming, and boarding, up from $1.2 billion 5 years earlier, according to the American Pet Products Manufacturers Association. So, people are willing to spend all kinds of money on their pets and then eat some other animal. But an interesting thing in this article that they mentioned was this paragraph, and it says, rising animal adoption rates as a result of shelters enacting no-kill policies and focusing instead on promoting adoption have also contributed to the increase of people like the dog whisperer. So at Animal Care and Control of New York City, adoptions have more than doubled since 2001 to 19,314 in 2006. So that's
good.
Great.
Yeah,
I saw that and I was like, wow, that's wonderful. And then the article talks about how rescued pets often come with baggage, which is sadly true.
Well,
Not always, but the thing is that people have this, that made me feel like, I don't know, that sentence, because some ways it's true because people treat their animals horribly and then send them off to a shelter.
Yeah.
But also you can find amazing animals.
But just because a dog has baggage does not mean that dog does not deserve a home.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, you can find an amazing animal at a shelter, but you can find non-amazing ones too, and the non-amazing ones deserve a home as well.
Exactly. So the article talks about this woman who found this little dog who got hit by a car, and the dog was afraid of other dogs, and they had him off in this little corner, and this woman just fell in love with him and took him home. And of course he had all kinds of issues because he was scared of
Sure.
everything, from getting hit by a car, and he had a lot of surgery and everything, and she took this animal in. The compassion of people is just amazing sometimes. Yeah. And then I'm sure she went home and had a hamburger.
Well, it's because I think people can see a dog, they can relate to a dog, they have experiences with dogs. A lot of people don't have everyday experiences with other animals. I think that's the distance. And our culture produces a kind of blindness about what we consume. I mean, not just animal products, but all kinds of products. That kind of blindness keeps us from really understanding the relationships of production, and it lets people remain ignorant. And it puts them in this position of kind of a helplessness almost, like, oh, I don't know where my meat comes from. I know me.
Or a lot of people, oh no, all that stuff about the factory farms, that's hyperbole. That's not really what goes on.
Or I'll eat free range. Yeah. Or organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's welfarism working well.
Yeah. That's great. But anyway, after I read that thing about the whole no-kill thing increasing, actually on the blog Invisible Voices, our friend Deb, Deb Mango had an excellent entry about certain cities around the country that are trying to go all no-kill.
Good.
which is, I think, a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
Because what they're basically doing is not just promoting no-kill shelters, but also, of course, spaying and neutering and that kind of thing, and having people realize that adoption, is a great thing. And just one example, this is happening in San Francisco, New York City, Philadelphia, and Tompkins County, New York. But this is from an example from the group Alliance for Philadelphia's Animals. It says that their goal is, the Alliance for Philadelphia's Animals is a public-private partnership with the city of Philadelphia that is working towards a time when no adoptable pet in Philadelphia is killed merely because he or she does not have a home.
Cool.
Acting as the liaison between the city government and the animal rescue community, the Alliance seeks to provide training and resources to animal care groups already working to place and/or spay and neuter Philadelphia's animals, thereby reducing and ultimately ending the killing of adoptable pets in Philadelphia's shelters.
Very good.
I think that's excellent.
I agree.
And it shows that it is possible. We don't have to kill them. We just have to work harder. The spaying, the neutering, finding homes.
I agree.
It can be done.
I think it can be done. And the fact that it's being adopted by larger cities and by whole counties, I think is evidence that it can be done on a big scale. Unlike what, for example, would say. No, I think it's ridiculous for anyone who says that they support animal rights or that animals deserve equal recognition to be in the business of arguing for the death of those exact same animals. It's a fucked up situation.
It really is.
So,
but the sad thing is that there are large portions of the country where their shelters are all killed.
This is
and
true.
they have really hard time finding homes for places. In fact, I read an article quite a while ago about some places in the South are shipping animals up towards the north because they know they can find homes up to the Northeast.
I've never read that.
That people are like volunteering to drive these animals up there. It's crazy. So
that's all we have.
That's it. That's our show. No email, no voicemail this week.
Yeah, we did promise you we'd bring you a show, but we didn't. We bring you a show every week. We didn't promise you we would do voicemail, email every week.
Yeah, and we have some good ones stacked up.
We do. It'll take us some time. We also have to do a giveaway. We've received donations from Ian at Fruition Bakery, and Ian is, he's in Australia. But anyway, I'm looking at his little menu of goodies here. Man, I'm hungry.
I know, it's going to be
sprouted wheat, sesame crust. Anyway, focaccia. He's all vegan. Anyway, he sent us some stuff to give away, Earthlings and a couple other things. And Patrick sent us some stuff as well, cookbook and things like that. So we need to do a giveaway. We will.
We do.
We will.
Yes,
we will. We got to figure out how to do it, though, in a way that won't overwhelm us.
Right. Oh, and subscribers. We finally are put in a t-shirt order. So subscribers, look for an email very soon.
Well, the order should be coming in.
That's why, soon.
Yeah.
Not now, soon.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Cool.
That's our show.
We're done.
So, thank you once again for being with us at Vegan Freak Radio.
That's right. Yeah, get in touch with us. Podcast at veganfreak.com. Podcast at veganfreak.com. Yeah. Why am I confused?
I don't know.
I'm trying to do two things at once.
Okay. Podcast.veganfreak.com is our website.
267-295-1944.
Put it on your refrigerator door.
And there's always the forums, although they're closed till the beginning of March. So that's the way life is.
Indeed.
Go check out the comments at podcast.veganfreak.com. You can add some if you want. You can do whatever you want. You can do what you want, just like Cartman.
Do what I want.
That's all I have. I'm just shot. Sorry.
Yeah. Just need to sleep more.
Yeah, I do need more sleep, I think.
Yeah.
And I need not to wake up to stories about Whole Foods.
We shouldn't put NPR in the morning. Our local NPR station has a series of shorts about dairies lately too. Which is
I know.
Annoying
That
farms.
annoys me. That annoys me as well.
So yeah.
But they're well-intentioned liberals. They're just liberals who would never ever think about animals. So. Yep. I do know we have local listeners, and I'm sure that they know the people at NPR, NCPR, which is our local NPR affiliate, but whatever. They should do a section about veganism. Yeah, right.
Look at these freaks.
That's probably where it would go.
Yep.
Our newspaper did it.
This is true.
Well, anyway, let's close the show out.
Okay.
Be in touch. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
I'm a vegan freak.
And by the way, some of you write to us and ask where that song is or if you can get a copy of it. You can. podcast.veganfreak.com. You just go and it's in the left-hand side. So left-hand side, left-hand column. It says listen to our Kick-Ass Vegan Freak theme song. You can right-click on that bad boy and download it. So there you go, if you ever want a copy of it. Thanks to give people.
Yes, people have been sending us shit. Not shit like bad shit, but shit is in like stuff in
cool
general.
Shit.
Oh, cool shit.
Cool shit, not shit.
No,
but cool
I
shit.
didn't mean it like that.
Go ahead.
Well, we need to thank Kat for sending us an awesome cookbook and some sweet goodies.
Absolutely. And Kat is the vocalist on our theme song. Mm-hmm. So many of you know Kat, or at least you know her voice.
Yes.
We also want to thank Peter from Australia. He sent us 2 really cool t-shirts.
Mm-hmm. And Bob is going to get them now.
So I can describe them.
Okay.
Because I can't describe them without looking at them.
Right.
One of them it just says the animal rights terrorists on it. And it kind of, how would you describe that?
It looks like a rescue.
Yeah, it's basically a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is pretty cool. And the other one, it's pretty good. It's got 2 little blocks on it. Inside one block, you have the letter V, uppercase and lowercase. And the next block has a gun in it. So these are great shirts. He didn't tell us how to tell you to go get them. So I don't know. Maybe he was just printing them for friends and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, and also...
Hey, Vegan Freaks. Welcome to Vegan Freak Radio number 59 on February 13th.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bob.
And Jenna.
And we're back again. Going to be a short show this week.
Turbo show.
Kind of like the walk we took today.
Yeah.
I was out walking today. We were out walking the dogs just before the show. Because if we don't walk the dogs before the show...
No show.
All hell breaks loose, basically.
Exactly.
So we were out walking the dogs. And I kept seeing these little white things. Like I would blink and I would see these little white things. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So... we get home and I look in the mirror, we have a little mirror right when we walk in, and I look in the mirror and there are actually little ice droplets on my eyelashes. That's what those little white things were. So we need to thank Leanne for a zine. She sent us a zine about what she did over her break.
Yeah, it's called 18 Long Days.
18 Long Days, and she has a blog, 18longdays.blogspot.com. I never had a chance to go there and look.
No, I didn't, but I read the zine.
Yeah, I did too.
It's cool. It's got a little vegan guide to Chicago in the back, and
yeah, and it mentions us.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
No, but the zine itself actually is it's cool because she just gives you a little. It's like what I like about zines is that they always give you, to me, the best zines give you little glimpses into the lives of people, right? The kind of travel zines or biographies or autobiographies, and this gives you just kind of a little glimpse into her life, and I like that. Mm-hmm. Microcosm also sent us some stuff for review. Do you all know about Microcosm? You should if you don't. Speaking of zines and comics and all that stuff, we will review some of that stuff on the show.
Yes.
That was the idea for them.
Okay, we will do that.
So we shall do that, but we haven't had a chance to really dig into those yet. So Microcosm's a good business to support, though. I'm totally behind supporting the kind of small scale.
Definitely.
Cool people.
They've got a lot of cool stuff on their site.
They do indeed.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough to be in Portland, you can go visit.
Indeed. Well, they also have an online shop.
Yeah, that's what I said. Online first.
So you better love us because it was like 5 degrees out when we took the dogs. 5 degrees, not centigrade for everybody else in the world. No, Fahrenheit. F.
Yeah. It was above 0, so we were like, well, we got to go out. We just got to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyway, here we are. We're going to have a quick show today because we're busy.
Yeah.
But part of our New Year's resolution was to bring you a show every week, and we're going to try.
That's what we're doing.
We're going to try hard.
Even if it's quick, we're going to do it.
Yep. So, that was it. Hey, tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is.
I didn't get you shit.
I didn't get you shit.
Good. It's a commercial piece of crap holiday anyway.
Yeah, I think a long time ago we just had this mutual agreement that we wouldn't get anything for each other on Valentine's Day and just celebrate other days.
I mean, is it ironic that Valentine's Day is called VD?
No.
No, anyway, yeah, I didn't get you anything. I know a lot of you out there are probably thinking that we're cynical and all that, but come on. I mean, if you love someone, shouldn't you show them all the time?
You should.
Shouldn't it be a daily exercise?
Yeah, just because, you shouldn't have to show me you love me with a card.
Yeah, and a dozen
flowers that the cat's just going to eat.
and a dozen tired cliche. I mean, roses? Shit, I probably just offended people out there.
Sure.
Oh,
no, I think it's very romantic if people want to do that kind of thing.
I agree.
But it's not like we can go out to eat at a good restaurant around here and have a nice romantic dinner because that's impossible. So
yeah, it's totally impossible. Well, anyway, I hope whomever out there, whatever out there is, you're having a Valentine's Day. I hope you have a very good one. I hope that you spend time with your loved one and get a lot of good loving. Put on some Barry White.
Now, if you're having a snow day tomorrow.
Oh, true. Well,
you might be.
That's only in the northeast of the United States, which constitutes a tiny percentage of people who listen to Vegan Freak Radio.
But actually, this is a big storm that's hitting a lot of the U.S.
True, but but even the U.S. constitutes a tiny proportion of the Vegan Freak listenership. We have listeners, I think, in all major continents.
I think so.
I'm trying to think of any we don't have. I don't think we have any on
Antarctica.
Yeah, right. We don't have any,
We're kind of challenging to be a vegan down there, but...
Well, whatever. All right, so let's move on.
Okay.
We have a couple...